This conversation now, in very recent times, there seem to be genuine efforts by the Nigerian Export Promotion Council and other such similar bodies to diversify the Nigerian economy. And considering the current economic reality of the country occasioned by dwindling price of oil in the global market, there is no auspicious time than now to promote the non-oil sectors as a way of salvaging the nation's ailing economy. And if we are really serious about the diversification of the economy, one vital approach would be to revive local industries. These indeed are not the best of times for local industries in the country. Now, over-reliance on crude oil as the primary export commodity and foreign exchange earner has no doubt worsened the situation of local industries here in the country. And joining me live here in the studios this time to discuss some of these issues and prospects of Made in Nigeria goods, who better than the CEO and co-founder of the Produced in Nigeria, Mrs. Bukky Ojo Abiola. Thank you indeed for coming on the show, Mrs. Bukky.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon. I mean, these are indeed very interesting times for us. But where are we when you consider this particular situation of made in Nigeria goods, especially with the Japa syndrome just around the corner?
The Japa syndrome is become a fashion, almost a trend now. And it's sad to know that we are also doing the mediocrity thing that most Nigerians are known for to do. We don't like it, but when we suffering and smiling, unfortunately. Produced in Nigeria is there to encourage everyone, either you're in products or services, you're coming out of school with a profession, you have a platform to express yourself. That's how I look at it. If you're a carpenter, you can showcase what you do, and you can also be there for Nigerians here in Nigeria. So Produced in Nigeria, our elevator speech is just this. It's an e-commerce platform, or let me put it this way, an e-commerce marketplace for Nigerians in the diaspora to purchase products and services for their family and friends here in Nigeria. So let's start using our own first. Of course, there are Nigerians all over the world and they want Nigerian-made products. But then what about the Nigerians in Nigeria? Can we compare the amount of Nigerians in the diaspora with the Nigerians we have here? If we were looking at it strictly on numbers. But why are we not into our own? It's a question for every Nigerian to ask.
I mean, because I was just going to ask that, I was just going to pose that question to you. Why exactly do we tend to look out for products or goods and services outside the country than what we have made here in Nigeria? Take, for instance, issues around rice. For instance, it does appear that even with the fact that the government had called for the need to close our borders so that we can produce, so some persons prefer to eat foreign rice than to eat locally produced rice. So I wonder what some of these factors would be that contribute to Nigerians preferring international or foreign products than made in Nigeria products.
One thing we have to first of all start to kind of change people's mindset is patriotism. Think about it. If you don't feel the need to be good to the next person, that know that that would in turn come back to you, then we are not doing the right thing. So you gave an example of rice. Why don't we like eating our own rice? Isn't it a question every Nigerian should ask? Is there something wrong with our rice? I don't believe there's anything wrong with our rice. But we've made it a habit to prefer what others have than ours. And that's why we need to start changing that mindset.
So one of the things, for instance, that some persons would say, maybe at home watching us now, would be, look, our rice always comes with some dirt, there's always sands, there's always stones, and shaft and all of that. And you don't get to see this, for instance, if you have to patronize foreign rice.
But I can also promise you that there are some producers right now who are putting the effort, and I'm giving them E for effort, for doing the right things. I hear that on a larger scale, a lot of them are still doing it wrong. They just want that quick mentality of quick, quick, quick. And that is one of the things I'm saying we need to start changing. I'm from the Western world. I've been there for a long time. And I can tell you based on experience that we value our own things. You go to a market and you see made in Canada. You'll find people buying it more than all these other apples and all that stuff that come from other parts of the country. Because we have that mindset that things that are made in Canada takes superiority over everything. Either it's good or bad, matters not. It just means that our mentality just shows us, and when they advertise these things online, that is how they advertise it. They put a logo, made in made in Canada. So we need to start doing that too, don't you think?
And even the ones that were even made here, of course, would rather prefer to have made in Canada or made in the US or China,
We need to change
as
that
the case may
mindset.
be. But when you look at also the state of the manufacturing sector, for instance, and the operating environment here for Nigerians who want to have industries, or who want to produce, who want to go into businesses, how would you describe the operating environment here as compared to where you were for most of your life?
It is, if the truth be told, it's very obvious. The environment is not yet friendly. Let me put it to you this way. We've had a lot of people come to Canada, different people come looking for investors in Canada, and they promise us heaven and earth and say, if you come to Nigeria to invest, you will get this, you will get that. But then are we getting it? Well, let them answer the question. The truth of the matter is the producing and manufacturing and industrial environment of Nigeria needs work, and that is why we're still telling our government to please understand this, that it becomes a rippling effect. One affects the next one. Do you agree with me? I mean, there's no, okay, let's just leave this alone. There's no such thing. The industry sector has to be better. Manufacturing has to, the environment for it is hard. Take, for instance, NEPA. Is that what you call it?
The issue around powers.
Power.
Around power, yeah.
Power. Can you imagine if we had steady electricity in Nigeria? People won't have to spend so much money on diesel. People won't have to start going to line up now that there's no fuel. I mean, all these things, as small as they are, which I'm saying small because that is the mentality we have. When we go through these things, we take that mediocre mindset and go like, we're used to it. So, okay. As opposed to us really screaming on top of our voice. I'm telling you, I switch it around. When I go to Canada, if they take the light because the electricity is gone, do you know how many lawsuits is already on the line? People might even die just because of it. So they don't joke with things like that. We need to come to that level where the little things that we overlook, that we think is mediocre, we need to start taking it seriously. How long have we been talking about electricity? I mean, that's just one of the things we're saying. Look at the roads. Do you know how many falling trailers that are carrying heavy loads? I mean, the manufacturing, the industries are crying and begging. There was a day we went to Apapa. It was a miserable journey going to that Apapa axis because it was jammed. So I came out and asked, how long have you been here? Because I saw the guy washing clothes and hanging it. What is going on here? He said, oh, I've been here for 2 weeks. So the only clothes he has. So you've been here. How do you operate a business that way?
So, I mean, we have always been an oil-producing country for many years.
Yes.
I mean, we are one of the top countries in the world that produces oil. Is that a problem for us? Does that also shift the focus of promoting other goods and services that Nigerians can actually promote
It's
and
a
produce?
blessing and a curse. As you said it, I don't even have to say it again. Yes, we've all focused on oil because of the quick response, the aggravation we get. Like, yeah, we got it. But now that we are realizing that the world is shifting from oil, it has been that because of oil, we've not focused on rice, that we're now beginning to hear that, the government is trying to push on. What about beans? What about cocoa? Cassava, do you know what people do with cassava? They do some crazy stuff with cassava. Even the byproduct of cassava goes a long way for those who know how to use it. What about all this? And we have it in Nigeria. Sorry for those who don't speak Yoruba. We have it in abundance. In Nigeria. That why haven't we taken the same measure that we've taken with oil? With oil, we're talking of just farm producer. We've not even talked about other things that we have. I mean, because produced in Nigeria is about products, but also services.
Yeah. So when you look at all of this, does that put a question mark on the present administration, and if perhaps successive administrations as well, in terms of when you look at the kind of policies that have been formulated and implemented, and some which have been formulated and not implemented? Is that an area as well that we may have to perhaps improve on?
100%. 100%. Why make policy and then just sit down, fold your hands and say you're on your own? We naturally, by human beings, it has nothing to do with Nigerians. Naturally, as human beings, we resist change. Don't do this again. Do you remember in those days when you had to wear seatbelt? Do you know how many people resisted that? They were not used to it for many years. They had to enforce it. Why can't we adopt the same thing? Why, make policies that, okay, I believe that those who are making those policies, they believe they've done some kind of homework to believe that those policies are meant to do something, right? But then when those policies are not being executed, why not enforce it? Where are the enforcement officers? I don't know. I'm a Nigerian, but I'm also a Canadian. And I try to wear my Nigerian hat when I come to Nigeria. But then I also know that there are some things that over time it becomes a habit. They give a policy and people will just because they know that it's only at the very beginning of doing it that we will hear the noise. After a while, it just dwindles. After a while, we don't hear it again. Then somebody like you will call our attention to it that in 1990-something or 2 years ago, a policy like this that is supposed to effect such change was put in place. What happened to that policy?
Yeah, well, Mrs. Abiola, produced in Nigeria. Perhaps you may want to walk us through some of the products that, for you, for instance, you are into. What are those products?
So we start.
And perhaps why?
Very good question. So in our head, Nigerian produces a lot of farm products. So think of every and any farm product that comes from our ground. Producing Nigeria wants to showcase it. Because we already know that people are coming from outside the world to come and take it, like our cocoa, like our palm oil. We know that they are coming for the kernels. We know they are coming for that. But now let us now start using, putting it out there for everyone, especially the Nigerians in diaspora. So that's one of the first things. Livestock is also one of the big things.
Seriously?
Yes. So yesterday at our trade fair, we had an elephant cow. Oh. I saw that cow and I moved 2-3 paces back. I'm like, okay, this one must not go haywire because it was a big cow. And that was one of our, vendors that brought that cow in. So livestock is one key thing with our tradition in Nigeria. Ileya, Christmas, we give livestock. Most of us do gifts of livestock. And why change who we are? So one of those things are being represented in Produce Now. But now let's go into the services. Services like professional services like doctors, nurses, lawyers, engineers. Not them coming out of school and going to sell water on the street. Those ones are also represented and produced in Nigeria. We have the artisans. That's what my love is. The carpenters, the electricians, the roofers, the bricklayers. Why are they not even taken seriously in this part of our world? Where I come from, they are the cha-cha-cha-cha. There's almost anything you would do without needing artisans where I'm coming from.
Absolutely.
And that produced in Nigeria is for that. Plus, we also have the digital services. So if you're just someone who knows how to write, who is a graphic designer, video editor, copywriter, we also have a platform for you.
Well, we have to wrap up our conversation in just a moment.
I'm just enjoying time with you.
Of course, I understand. But it's about the close of 2022.
Yes.
We're headed for a new year. It's a transitional phase. There will be a new president in 2023. Let me start with your projections, perhaps, the close of the year 2022 and 2023. Where do you see made in Nigeria goods, perhaps by the end of next year, 2023? Where are we taking this to?
If our head is on our neck, then produced in Nigeria would be forefront in front of everyone's lips. Because honestly, all those people who are saying they're going to do this, they're going to do that, I believe them that they mean well. But then ask them how they intend to do it. It's so woven and webby that it's so difficult to know where the starting point is. But I would say that let us start in the grassroots. Let us promote our products that are made in Nigeria. Let's start with that. Do you get it?
Yeah.
Let the price of rice come down. I beg. It is going up.
I understand the bag goes for almost...
It's about 40,000 naira
plus.
now. Jesus is Lord. Sorry. But for me, that is, I can afford it. Yes. Thank God. And there are some people listening to me here that I can afford it. But why won't people go for the ones that have stones? Because those are the ones that are cheaper. Eh?
Yes. So let me ask this question, Mrs. Abiola.
Yes.
Just how can we package, just how can we market our made in Nigeria goods better? I mean, we've given the instance of rice. The reason why most Nigerians who can afford it would prefer to go for foreign rice is because, look, I don't want to go through the stress of having to, go picking out or sifting the dirt from locally made rice and all of that. So just how can we perhaps package or market our products in the country way better at the continental level as well as outside the continent?
Produced in Nigeria. So go to www.producedinnigeria.com. And I'm not trying to push Produced in Nigeria into people's throat, but I'm also saying Produced in Nigeria is out there to do the same thing Alibaba did for Asia, to do the same thing Amazon did for North America. But look at it this way. I'm asking every Nigerian to become a stakeholder in this. Understand that if you don't bear laruge, nobody's about to do that for you. I like doing this Yoruba thing. Yeah. If you don't understand how to exaggerate yourself and showcase yourself, you would not, nobody's going to do that. But then what I'm also encouraging, for those who have, I just don't want to be bothered with, mediocre, like you mentioned. Yeah. Please give us your feedback. That is why that platform is important. So, but give us wiggle room to make the changes that is needed. So you want to see rice that you can eat without the stress of, stones and dirt. Then if you ever were in that position, please give us that feedback. It's nice, but then also allow us to make the changes. The wiggle room, we do need it. Because we'll be lying to say that Nigeria is not what it is. We know, but it can be better. There's no such thing that Nigeria is hopeless. It can be better, but if we keep looking at it and we don't do anything, it will look back at us.
Well, we have to leave it here. It's a fine place to anchor a conversation with you. CEO and co-founder of Produced in Nigeria. Mrs. Bukky Ojo Abiola, thank you indeed for your time on the program.
Thank you, and bye, everyone.
Of course, we wish you all the best.